Hey everybody, welcome to Geeks on the Street. I don't know what episode this is. I'm not going to look it up because we've been gone far too long for me to waste any
Right.
of your time. Had to take 2 weeks off frankly, just because of Super Bowl and Olympic stuff on my end. So it's entirely my fault. So this is the weird corner of the Wall Street Journal where I humbly apologize for not being able
Yes.
to make videos. What are we talking about this week?
We really need to address Jesse Eisenberg cast as Lex Luthor. This casting came out of left field.
Mm-hmm.
It surprised people more than the Ben Affleck as Batman news or even Heath Ledger as Joker way back when.
Right.
People went nuts over this casting decision because the instant reaction to any kind of out-of-the-box thinking for fanboys is foaming at the mouth and kicking and screaming. Now, to be honest with you, I think some of them had a pretty good reason because Lex Luthor, Jesse Eisenberg isn't the first one you think of. What do you think?
My initial reaction was to the reaction, which is I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of feeling like I have to have an opinion on internet outrage about a casting choice in a multi-billion-dollar corporate product that happens to be based on a comic book character that I had a relationship with as a kid. Because honestly, Mike, I can't think of a single otherwise flawless, and maybe you can tell me if I'm wrong, I can't think of a single otherwise flawless comic book movie or superhero film that was ruined by a bad casting choice.
No.
Yeah,
and it
these
remains to be
movies sink and swim on factors that have nothing to do with a single acting or a single performance. They just,
and this is part of my point with Ben Affleck originally, is that a lot of this is going to come down to costume design, lighting, framing, blocking, how Zack Snyder shoots him. Right. I mean, especially when you're dealing with superheroes and comic book figures, there's, like you said, there's so much else that needs to work.
Yeah.
Like if you look at Daredevil stunk, not necessarily because of Ben Affleck, even though he wasn't so good in the part, but the costume was terrible, the lighting was terrible, the action was poorly choreographed. And Jesse Eisenberg is a good actor.
Yeah.
I know he gets rapped for being typecast, and while I could sympathize with the outrage, like I said at first, I'm a little bit more on board with it, and it's more of the it's not that I don't care. I'm not quite where you are yet because I want this to succeed. I love the DC universe more than I do the Marvel universe. Right. I want this to be good, but I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt on this. I think Eisenberg's a good actor. I think he'll be eager to prove people wrong.
I guess when I say that, like, I don't, it's not that I don't care so much. No, my initial reaction was like, oh, that's interesting. I think he'll be good. That'll be different.
Why not? Yeah.
It'll be different. It's not Gene Hackman. It's not John Shea from Lois and Clark.
I like that with the DC movie, we don't know what it is yet. Mm-hmm. We don't know if it's Batman, Superman. We don't know if it's Justice League. People say it's a mess, that the production's been all over the place, but who knows? You know, they brought in an Academy Award-winning screenwriter, Chris Terrio, to redo the script. Who knows? Maybe they're doing it right. Maybe they really are, like, for as much as like you said, a corporate product can do, maybe they are kind of trying to break out a little bit. So, you know, I think a lot of the outrage is good because at least it's interesting. At least they're pissing people off still.
This is my work, Perry. I'm working. And when you want to tell me what I need to hear, you let me know.
Throughout his career,
One other event we really need to touch on that it isn't so light and airy and geeky is the rather unfortunate death of, unfortunate death of Philip Seymour Hoffman, who is truly one of the great actors of all time. There's just no other way to put it. He a relatively short career, but he packed so much great art in that time, and we lost a great artist.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's interesting that, like, you know, you always wait for the contrarian article to appear somewhere on the internet where, like, there's the moment where somebody writes, well, let's take it a step back. This so-and-so was a little overrated.
Right.
Yeah, you didn't get that with this one, which I thought was very telling about the work, you know. If
I had to pick my all-time Philip Seymour Hoffman performance, and you know, there's so many to pick from, I would go with a recent one, Lancaster Dodd in The Master. whether the character was based on L. Ron Hubbard or not. I'm sure there are definite shadings, whatever. Hoffman was able to make this character fully realized. And while you might not have liked him if you encountered him, at least through the film, you could identify with what he was going through and where he was coming from, even though he was a bit of a charlatan and a con artist in the film. And the last scene in The Master is a true heartbreaker. Philip Seymour Hoffman as Lancaster Dodd sings, the penultimate scene, sings Slow Boat to China to Joaquin Phoenix's Freddie Quell. And that scene's been sticking with me ever since Hoffman died, because it's just, there's so much unspoken, so much left to be said in that scene, and it shows, and I feel the same way about his career.
I think I always just love his character, Scotty J, the closeted production assistant on Jack Horner's movie sets. If for no other reason, just that really,
in Boogie Nights,
really sad scene at the end where he finally, makes a move on Dirk, is rebuffed. You realize that he spent all his money on this crap car that kind of approximates Dirk's car. And and then he has his I'm an effing idiot scene in the car, which, I've never said that to myself about that particular situation, but I've said that to myself plenty of times to know what's going through his head in that moment. So I always found the verisimilitude of that scene to be particularly intense.
Anyway,
good talking to you, dude.
This Geeks on the Street is in memory of Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.